This is now the second Chris Pratt movie in 2023 to have the song No Sleep Till Brooklyn, and I prefer this use of the song better. Hey movie buffs, I'm Jack Benner, and welcome to my review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is the final film in the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, as well as the second film in Phase 5 of the MCU, as well as the 32nd MCU film overall. Like Volume 1 and 2, James Gunn is back to direct, and you got the returning players of Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Karen Gillan, Pom Clementine, Vin Diesel, Bradley Cooper, and many others. In Volume 3, the Guardians of the Galaxy are residing in nowhere until one Guardian's past memories start to return, which leads to the Guardians on a dangerous mission. In 2014, it was a bold move for James Gunn to make Guardians of the Galaxy, because back then, those characters to the public weren't well known. And I believe it paid off in the best way, taking obscure comic book characters and turning them into household names thanks to this movie. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 still holds up as a hilarious, entertaining, heartfelt, and unique MCU film at the time, with its pitch-perfect casting across the board, fantastic visuals, great emotion, awesome soundtrack, and James Gunn was the perfect director to bring those characters to the big screen. Even though my only flaw is a typical flaw in the MCU is that Ronan was a pretty weak and generic and forgettable villain. Besides that, this is still my top 10 favorite MCU films, my second favorite Phase 2 movie behind The Winter Soldier, released that same year, awesome year for Marvel, and it was one of my top 10 favorite films of 2014. An excellent superhero team-up film and an excellent film in general that exceeded expectations. It became a box office hit, grossing $700 million worldwide, making it one of the highest grossing movies of 2014. And it was a critically acclaimed film for both critics and audiences, and I give the first Guardians of the Galaxy film an A. 3 years after the predecessor, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 has hit theaters in 2017. While it was a bigger box office hit and still received positive reviews from critics, there were people who felt Volume 2 was an inferior sequel that wasn't as good as the first. Admittedly, the first 2 times I watched it, I was in that same boat, giving it a B+. But a year after, with the James Gunn firing, I decided to give the film another chance and with a different perspective. And since then, I now love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and I believe that was the MCU movie that has grown on me the most and the one I find the most underrated. I believe Volume 2 succeeds at being a character-driven MCU sequel that fleshes out these characters, making them more interesting, and taking 2 characters that I liked in Volume 1 and I liked them even more in Volume 2, that being Nebula, and in particular Yondu, I found to be the best character in that movie. And that sequel delivers the laughs, top-notch performances, some of the most gorgeous visuals in the MCU, an equally awesome soundtrack, an improved villain with ego, and well-earned emotion that hits me right in the feels. And that is actually my second favorite comic book movie of 2017 behind Logan, and I like that movie more than Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, and Wonder Woman. And I give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 an A-. Given how much I love the first 2 films that made me adore these characters successfully, and James Gunn doing a brilliant job with them, I was of course highly anticipating Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, even though in 2018 there was that unfair firing of James Gunn because of those 10-year-old offensive tweets which Gunn even himself apologized for. But luckily he was rehired for Volume 3, and that made me over the moon because I can't imagine anyone else directing Volume 3 other than James Gunn. But then again, one silver lining of this was James Gunn writing and directing The Suicide Squad for DC, which is hands down my favorite DCEU movie and one of my top 10 favorite movies of 2021. That vastly improves that 2016 disaster Suicide Squad in every way. And that film made me eager that James Gunn is in charge of DC now. And I should also mention that last year, I really enjoyed the holiday special on Disney+. It was very funny and heartwarming. And when the trailers for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 were released, they achieved excellent results of getting me enthused to see these characters again, James Gunn back in full swing, and not revealing too much of the story, which I like. Most of all, indicating the potential of this being a satisfying and entertaining finale with the strengths of its predecessors intact. Even though my skepticism for phases 4 and 5 of the MCU, I felt like they've been having hit and miss and rushed products. With the exceptions of Shang-Chi, which was awesome, Spider-Man No Way Home was fantastic, and I liked Black Panther Wakanda Forever, that didn't stop me from getting excited to see this awesome team one last time. and just give me everything in this finale I was hoping for. It was one of my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2023, as well as the MCU movie I was most excited to see in 2023. I saw Volume 3 opening night enthusiastically. The question, is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 the satisfying conclusion we have been hoping for? And having seen it and had time to process it, I can confirm it's not a good finale. It's a great finale. I absolutely loved Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Just everything I was hoping for, the emotion, the excitement, the humor, it all delivered. Just loved it. Let's start this review with the pros. First, the cast are on top of their A game without a single weak link. You can tell everyone in the cast wanted to give it their all here, and I believe this is the best acting of the trilogy. Over the years, Chris Pratt has been giving consistently fantastic performances as Star-Lord, making him one of my favorite MCU heroes. Volume 3 is no exception, as Pratt continues to exude his humor and charisma. Plus, akin to the previous films, Pratt does a great job in the emotional scenes. One particular dramatic scene from Chris Pratt, which contains, I believe, the best acting I have seen from him. I won't reveal any spoilers, but I found his character arc and resolution to his story very satisfying. Zoe Saldana has always done a terrific job as Gamora, showcasing her ferocity, tough demeanor, and backstory, and having her entertaining moments. In Volume 3, it was interesting to see this past version of the character and what she's been up to ever since Endgame. After the present version of the character was killed in Infinity War, I like how the relationship between her and Peter is handled here, being focused differently, while emphasizing her significance to his character arc. Dave Bautista is so hilarious, likable, badass, and heartwarming as Drax as always. And Dave Bautista said this is his final time playing Drax the Destroyer, and if this truly is, what a great film to go out on. And I think this is going to be a great year for Dave Bautista. I thought he was excellent at Knock the Cabin earlier this year, and he's got Dune Part 2 later this year, which I am pumped for. That trailer was incredible, so looks like a great and promising year for Dave Bautista. And I'm really glad to see more of his range as an actor and curious to see what he's going to do after this. And Karen Gillan has always done a fantastic job as Nebula. And ever since Volume 2, Nebula is the one MCU character that has grown on me the most, and love seeing her character growth throughout. It was satisfying to see her as a full member of the Guardians, even with her bitterness intact, but has a great ending to her character arc as well. And this is the best Paul Clementine has been as Mantis so far. She is hilarious, adorable, and a great member of the Guardians. And I love the twist in the holiday special. Won't reveal what it is between her and Peter. And I'm glad with that twist they didn't just bring it up in the holiday special and go nowhere with it. They didn't forget that twist, which I'm okay with. Groot is always hilarious, adorable, and it was great to see him have more cool abilities in Volume 3. Rocket Raccoon has always been my favorite Guardian member, and I love how Bradley Cooper voices him, and I'm a big fan of him in general. One aspect that intrigued me about the film was the chance to delve into Rocket's backstory, as it was hinted into previous movies. And I could see why James Gunn was saving Rocket's backstory for Volume 3. It is dark, tragic, devastating, and contains some of the most heartbreaking moments in the MCU. Just, oh my god. This is by far the darkest and saddest Guardians movie yet. Just, the scenes involving Rocket's backstory are just, oh my god, are they heartbreaking, and they have plenty of tear-jerking moments. And out of the trilogy, as Rocket Raccoon, I think this is Bradley Cooper's best performance. And Volume 3 showcases Bradley Cooper's phenomenal acting in the emotional scenes. He really gave it his all there. Two scenes in particular, one of them where you see why Rocket is the way he is with his behavior. And in that moment, you can hear a pin drop in the theater. It is just haunting in my memory. And second is a particular conversation he has that is just so powerful and heartbreaking. And that is the second time that Bradley Cooper has broken my heart in a movie since A Star is Born. And watching those two particular scenes in the theater just almost made me teary-eyed, just a little close, and I was just thought, damn it, who's cutting onions in the theater? And it's interesting looking back to the first two movies, why Rocket is the way he is after Volume 3, and I was like, okay, that makes more sense now. And one entertaining addition to the holiday special and Volume 3 was Cosmo, the space dog with telekinetic powers, voiced by Maria Bakalova. You remember was Borat's daughter in subsequent movie film, which I thought she was hilarious in and got an Oscar nomination for that. As for the villain of the film, the High Evolutionary. Now, Ronan was a fine villain in the first movie. Ego I found to be a better villain and a more understandable villain. The High Evolutionary He is the best Guardians villain and going down as one of my favorite MCU villains. And I believe the actor's name is Chukwudi. I apologize if I mispronounced that name. I heard he was also in Peacemaker, so he has worked with James Gunn before. But huge props to him. He does an excellent job relishing this villain role and just how despicable he is with his actions that you definitely despise him. He's cruel, sadistic, inhumane, and loathsome while exuding elegance and intelligence, having an understandable motive, a menacing presence, and his pivotal connection to Rocket's past. And as the film goes on, and every time he's on screen, I was afraid of what he was going to do next. Just he was so menacing and sadistic. And I would probably rank this villain somewhere in my top 5 or 10 MCU villains if I really think about it. One of the main reasons why I love James Gunn as a filmmaker is not only because of his sharp writing and delivering amazing action, but he never forgets to focus on characters first. All his strengths in his comic book movies are getting the audience emotionally attached to characters, making them developed, likable, entertaining, and sympathetic. It's apparent how meaningful these characters are to James Gunn, as he wants to give each character a satisfying way to tie up loose ends with their arcs that feel earned and justified, and telling stories in the trilogy that felt like they had a plan from the start, but also feel well-rounded and enticing. And his skills as a filmmaker are still intact here. One, even though this is the darkest Guardians of the Galaxy movie, this movie is still hilarious with plenty of laugh-out-loud moments. Just certain dynamics and interactions with the characters are just so entertaining and very funny. And luckily, it was clever humor that never felt hit and miss, and nor did it feel like undercuts any drama or tension. The story not only entertaining, and I was invested throughout and never bored, but also contains a lot of depth, and it's a great character-driven sequel like Volume 2. Reminding fans why we love these characters in the first place and how much of an emotionally impactful sequel this is. And surprisingly, this has the best action of the Guardians trilogy. A strength of the Suicide Squad is applied here, delivering high stakes and non-stop tension from the jump, making you concerned for the character's survival. And there is one particular one-take action scene set at a hallway, and you get to see all the Guardians' different abilities. Plus, with a great song choice used here, that was a huge highlight of the film, and it's easily the best action scene of the Guardians movies, and I believe it's going to go down as one of the best action scenes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The visual effects and CGI in phases 4 and 5 felt hit and miss. From that obvious green screen and the climax of Black Widow, I was like, this was fun. I was like, oof, that's bad green screen right there. Some of the effects in Thor Love and Thunder with that floating kid's head and those kids fighting back against Gore, that CGI didn't look very good there. And recently, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, sometimes CGI was good and colorful, but other times, it didn't quite look so good, and in particular, MODOK. I really did not like MODOK in that movie. He looked like freaking Mr. Electric from Shark Boy and Lava Girl. I am very excited to report that the visuals in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 are terrific as the first two movies. They look more improved than phases 4 and 5. The effects clearly have taken more time to complete, and having an amazing combination of CGI and practical effects, and fantastic Oscar-worthy makeup. Seriously, props to the makeup department. There was some truly phenomenal makeup in this movie, nor did it really have any particular distracting effects that took me out of the movie, nor stood out like a sore thumb. And since the first two Guardians movies got nominated for Best Visual Effects at the Oscars, I am predicting Volume 3 to do so. If any MCU movie is going to get nominated for visual effects this year, I feel like it's going to be this one. And since the first film got nominated for visual effects and makeup, that would be awesome to see that happen again here. I've always loved the soundtracks, awesome mixes for both Volume 1 and 2. So many excellent choices of songs that I listen to them quite frequently after I've seen the movies. Once again, in Volume 3, they do a great job matching the scenes and tones of the film, but mostly having an important connection to the main character. Sadly, I do have some minor flaws with this movie. I will get to those right now. First, although I thought Will Poulter was great as Adam Warlock, in particular, the first action scene I thought was great, showing how powerful he is, and he was surprisingly funny, and I would like to see more of him in the future. My problem is, I felt like he was a bit underused and didn't really have enough screen time, and I feel like with his little screen time, I felt like they could have done a bit more with him, even though he does tie into a theme in the climax of the movie. Other than that, I still feel like they could have done a bit more with him, so curious to see what they're going to take with him in the future. And second, like in Volume 2, I don't really find the Sovereign, those gold people, really that interesting of villains, minus Adam Warlock. Just every time Aisha showed up, I just didn't really find her that interesting, and I didn't feel like she was improved that much here. In conclusion, I am thrilled that James Gunn didn't disappoint me one bit in delivering a funny, entertaining, engaging, heartbreaking, and immensely satisfying finale with actors on the top of their game as well as James Gunn behind the camera, terrific visual effects, gut-wrenching emotional moments, intense and thrilling action, and earned character arcs. I'm glad this wasn't concerned about setting up what's come for the future for the multiverse saga, but rather focused on giving these characters the emotional send-off they truly deserve. If this truly is the last time we'll see the Guardians of the Galaxy, I couldn't have thought a more satisfying swan song than this. If you are a fan of both Guardians of the Galaxy movies as well as James Gunn's work, you won't be disappointed here. I still think you're going to enjoy this movie even if you're on board with phases 4 and 5 in the MCU. However, if you haven't been a fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are going to be on this one, if you like it or not, but I still think it's worth a chance. And just to let you know, for all animal lovers, there is some dark moments in this movie with animal cruelty, so do be warned, it is tough to watch. But if you haven't seen the first two Guardians of the Galaxy movies, I do recommend you watch those movies first before you watch this one, which I do highly recommend both Volume 1 and 2. And this is now my second favorite movie of 2023 behind John Wick Chapter 4. And it is so much better than both Quantumania and Shazam! Fury of the Gods. And the next superhero movie coming out in a month, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which I am pumped for. With how much I am pumped for Across the Spider-Verse, I feel like that movie is going to give Volume 3 a run for its money for the best comic book movie of 2023. Summer 2023 has just begun, and just to let you know, I am planning on doing a most anticipated movies of the summer video, so look forward to that video. That should be coming soon. How much I loved Volume 3, and I'm pumped for Across the Spider-Verse, and hopefully that delivers, and it's just as fantastic as the first movie. And plenty of great and promising movies coming out this summer. I can't wait for this summer, and I hope it's great. And now to grade it, I'm going to give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 4.5 stars out of 5. An A. A huge step up for Phase 5 after Quantumania really disappointed me and found that to be a mixed bag. Hats off to James Gunn and the rest of the cast and crew for delivering a fantastic conclusion. And I believe the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are going to go down as one of the best comic book movie trilogies. I'd say up there with like the Dark Knight trilogy, the Captain America trilogy, and I love the MCU Spider-Man trilogy with Tom Holland. So I think the Guardians of the Galaxy movies should definitely join in those ranks. Speaking of ranking, where does Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 rank in my MCU ranking? I have been thinking about it ever since I saw the movie, but I would probably place it at either number 7 or 8. Yeah, this is in my top 10 MCU movies now. This might be my favorite. It's just the darkest and most intense. It has the best action, the most heart, the best villain. I do want to see it again to decide, which I'm definitely planning on, so this could be my new favorite Guardians movie of the trilogy. I'm still looking forward to more MCU content in 2023. Secret Invasion is premiering this June. I'm really excited for that, and I believe that has potential to be one of the best MCU Disney Plus shows. And we got Loki Season 2. I don't know if that's going to come out this year or next year, but I'm excited for that. I loved Loki. And the Echo series, I think, is coming out this year, so curious to see that. I did like the character in Hawkeye. And the next big MCU film coming out in 2023 is The Marvels, the sequel to Captain Marvel. Honestly, with the trailer, I wasn't really impressed by it. It just looks like another typical meh MCU movie to me. And I just felt like the first Captain Marvel was a fine, safe, standard MCU movie that didn't really wow me. And I felt like Brie Larson's performance was a bit inconsistent. I wouldn't say bad, just sometimes she worked for me, sometimes she didn't, so I'm not fully on board with the character. And I do hope there's room for improvement with the sequel, a new director. It's going to be a body-swapping movie. Hopefully with the team dynamic, maybe it'll make Captain Marvel more of an interesting character. So I'm not really wowed with the trailer. It looks fine to me. So I do want to give the Marvels a chance this November, and hopefully it'll be better than the first Captain Marvel. So we'll see. And now that James Gunn is done with the MCU and he's going to be over to DC now with his 10-year plan for a new universe, and his DC slate that he announced in January, I'm really excited for it. And with how much I love the Suicide Squad, and that's my favorite DCU movie, I couldn't be any more hyped that he's in charge and going to be creating a cinematic universe, and his ideas and what he's going to adapt sound very interesting. And his next big movie is a new Superman movie he's going to do in summer 2025. Can't wait to see that. Who is he going to cast as Superman? And that's not going to be an origin story. And given how much he adores the character of Superman, I can't wait to see how he's going to do writing and directing a new Superman movie. And also got Batman and Robin with the Brave and the Bold. Swamp Thing, James Mangold is going to direct that, making me super excited. So I can't wait for James Gunn's DC universe with his films and TV shows he's planning. Can't wait. So I'd like to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? If you you've seen it. Do you agree, disagree with my review? Or if you haven't seen it, are you looking forward to film or not? Let me know below. Did you enjoy hearing my thoughts on this movie and want to see more reviews like this in the future? If yes, please hit that like and subscribe button if you're new here, and don't forget that notification bell for my next upload in the future. It really means a lot. And until the next video, I'm Jack Benner, and look forward to another movie review.